What's up, everybody? Troy Cartwright here. A quick announcement before we get started. On Thursday, February 1st, we're going to drop our first episode of the 10-Year Town Book Club. I am announcing this today because I want you to have time to read the book if you want to participate. It's called The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. It's going to be a really fun episode. We're going to have on a previous guest and just kind of talk about some of our favorite things from the book. Looking forward to it. Thanks. Today's guest, a man that needs no introduction, Michael Hardy. On the pod, we're going to talk about his journey from Philadelphia, Mississippi to Nashville, Tennessee. Hardy is truly one of the nicest guys in the music industry. I love this episode. I know you guys are going to love it too. I think you're going to learn a lot. Without further ado, here he is.
FGL happened and everything changed forever.
It just like broke. And it like now, I feel like there's actually way more room to maneuver. You know, it's not like, it doesn't have to be like superstar or bust. You know,
I think it's the opposite.
I think it is going.
It's going. It's like
it's niching down.
Bro Country was like a professional wrestler era, and every single was their theme song. Walking out to the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everybody was fit and good looking, and like that was your thing. And then, really, it was. The moment to me that it changed was when Chris Stapleton sang on stage with Justin Timberlake. And in my opinion, everybody, I love Luke Combs. Everybody says it's Luke, but I swear to God, I think it was Stapleton before Luke because he was the first dude that was popping off and had a completely different sound. Of course, we all know his voice, but like, and then that, like, it pivoted for the first time in like, whatever, 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, like I remember because I was sitting in Dallas. I didn't live in Nashville yet. And I was watching that live for some reason, which is random. I don't normally watch that stuff
Award
live.
shows?
Yeah, but I remember seeing it and I was like, and I had just seen him in Dallas like 2 weeks earlier.
Stapleton?
Yeah.
And I bet it wasn't a big room either because he hadn't blown up yet.
It was like, there was like hundreds of people there. So it was cooking.
But hundreds, dude, compared to now, right?
And the room was not full. And I remember seeing that happen, and I was like, "Hell yeah, it's like, different now.
This is a thing. Yeah,
it's different now, you know, because I love FGL, but I wasn't like, you know, I didn't feel like that was in line with. I didn't feel capable of doing that, but I felt like what Stapleton was doing was like something, you know, it was for me.
Yeah,
you know, It was different. It was organic, and it was.
And dude, it was just, to me, it immediately broke the mold of what you have to look like. And then, 2 or 3 years later, Combs came out, and then it just busted wide open with a bunch of normal ass looking dudes. You know what I mean? And all of us were like, "Fuck yeah, I can get a record deal now, dude."
Yeah. You didn't have to fit into this like perfect.
Yeah,
mold.
It just seemed like that for so long, and I wish Ken Burns would like keep going on the whole thing.
Yeah. What did he get to?
I think he got to like, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't finish it.
I love the idea of it. I've never started it.
It's a COVID documentary, dude.
Yeah,
get some good COVID.
Yeah,
watch the Ken Burns documentary.
Yeah, you'll have time to get through it.
Yeah, it's very tedious isn't the right word, but it's
dense,
so dense, and so in detail. Like you have to make an event out of watching it. I got through like 3 or 4 decades. I got to like the 70s, and I was like, went on vacation or something, and I just never came back to it.
Yeah,
but
there's still time. It's there.
Yeah. I'm definitely not going to start it over, dude. But it was cool. It's cool to see like Gene Autry and Jimmy Rogers and these guys were like the first guys to like commercialize a genre that was brand new.
Yeah.
And you know, okay, I'm gonna get in the weeds here,
That's great.
But dude,
let's do it.
I have an issue with people. Okay, country music is founded. Literally, the foundation of country music is putting original lyrics over not original melodies.
Yeah.
So they would rewrite lyrics to gospel melodies. And that's what like the Carter family did. That's what everybody did back in the day.
Did they call it like an
Interpolation?
Interpolation?
No, they didn't.
That was
they just
like,
called it music. And dude, that has been a thing. You can draw a line to almost every, you know, the Always Sunny meme of Charlie and he's all strung out and he's pointing to the thing and all the lines. That you can do that with country music. And I just, man, people get so worried these days about getting sued and this and that. But I just, to this day, I'm like, man, this is the foundation of what this genre is built on. Is like, listen to 90s country, dude. Yeah. Of course, I can't think of one off the bat, but it's kind of its thing, dude, is borrowing melodies from other things. And that's just a common thing for that 10 years. And then it moves on to something else. And then everybody kind of does the same thing. But yeah, I don't know. If you're a songwriter out there, don't worry about getting sued, dude. Just do your thing.
I've never been sued, but I tell people all the time, it's like, is this on top of that? I'm like, dude, if we're getting sued, life is good. That means
the song made enough money for somebody to want a piece of it.
Yeah.
I agree, dude.
And I get so frustrated. I was in a write last week, and like in the end, the artist ended up bringing something in that they'd started with somebody else, and I could tell like the other person was like
uncomfortable about
irritated. And I was like, dude, hey, guess what? Whatever percentage of this divided by 6 is a lot more than like 0 divided by 3.
Yeah, you know? dude. I'm the same exact way, man. Yeah. If it's a 9-way, if it's a 6-way, and making it a 9-way is what's going to get it cut.
Yep, it doesn't matter.
$0, and not that it's all about the money, but sometimes it's about the money. And $0 is way better than, or way worse than whatever $10, whatever money it actually makes.
Well, it's like let's write the most interesting thing in the room.
Yeah,
like it was good. That's why we wrote it.
Yeah,
we wanted to finish it. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah,
and the artist was stoked about it. So
yeah, who cares?
It made a lot of sense, man. Well, dude, I always start this thing off with the same question.
Okay,
which is, how long have you been in town,
dude? 10 years.
No way.
What year is it? No shit. 13 years.
13 years.
Yeah. Why did I think it was 10? Yeah, 13 years. 13 and a half. 14 in May.
Where from?
I'm from Philadelphia, Mississippi.
Yeah. Did you come straight here?
Yes. I went to a year of junior college out of high school.
Okay.
And then I moved here when I was 19.
Dang.
Yeah, dude.
Did you just go to junior college, like around?
Yeah, like 25 minutes from my hometown. My sister moved up here straight out of high school and went to Belmont. She was a singer. She still lives here, married, has kids, and she has a hair and makeup company now and does really well. But she moved here to pursue music at the time, and me and a couple of buddies came up around probably, I think it was like February of 2010, just to hang out with her and her friends. And we came up here and we just partied all weekend. And like, I just had never been anywhere or done anything cool. And like, I mean, seriously, like I grew up in Mississippi and like we just didn't have a whole lot and there was not a lot to do. And I came up here and I just fell in love with it. And I had written 2 songs. Like I was starting to dabble into like writing songs and had picked up guitar and stuff. And I'd written a couple songs. And prior to that trip, my sister called me and she was like, hey, mom, dad, whoever told me that you'd been writing some songs. Just so you know, like if you ever wanted a change of pace, there's this thing up here called a publishing deal. Yeah. And she gave me the whole spiel because she was, music business at Belmont and she was learning all about all that. And anyway, came up, visited, had a freaking blast. And I came back home and I told my parents, I said, I think I need to move to Nashville. And that was it. I kind of on a whim. Yeah. Did you go to school or did you literally just move? Like I have a degree in songwriting from MTSU. Not a lot of people know that, but I did. I moved up here and I went to MTSU and did that whole thing. But I moved up. I moved with the intention of becoming a songwriter. I don't know. Were you living in Murfreesboro? In Murfreesboro? Yeah, the borough, dude. The freaking borough, dude. Yeah. For 2.5 years, and then I commuted my last year. It took me an extra semester to finish, but gotcha. You had a good time. I did. I had a decent time. I was weird in college. I had like 3 friends. I wasn't super social. Yeah. I literally just kind of felt like Harry Potter, dude. I just I just stayed in my room and just wrote songs all the time and just tried to figure it out. And like, I don't know. I was a bit of a recluse. I didn't really come out of my shell until I got like up here and signed my first deal. And you know, Rebar, those days, dude.
Yeah, man.
R.I.P.
Yeah, I know, dude. Is that where they're putting the Old Dominion bar, or did I just look at that picture wrong?
I don't know, but that's freaking genius.
I saw them like announce a new bar and
in Midtown. That'd be the first one in Midtown.
That would be a really good idea.
I wanted to do that, dude. That's sick. I want to be like, dude, some of these people need to put them in Midtown, man. That's even cooler.
I know. It makes a lot more sense. Although I have not personally been to Midtown. I went to Red Door on like a Monday night after
I went
a
last
whiskey
night,
jam. Is it still popping?
Yeah, there's a new deck now. It's even bigger. It's just, dude, Red Door's changed.
I know.
It's changed, and it's just, it's different now.
It feels different. And
everybody in there's up to something, dude.
But I might be different. I have to consider that as well.
but dude, I remember a time, I got to be careful how I say some of this stuff, but I remember a time where we were in a group, you know, whoever, I was with whoever in Red Door, and Darius is sitting in one corner and Miranda is sitting in another one, and there's people everywhere and nobody said a word to either one of them. And that's like a thing that you just can't get away with anymore.
Not like when you're there, are you getting
a little bit?
It's a little mob scene.
It's not like mob scene. No, it's not. But it's some guy that comes up and he's like, I know I just moved here, but I'm the best songwriter that's out there. It's like sticking their phone in your ear and shit like that. And
listen to this demo.
It's not fans, but it's just really hungry young people, which, dude, shoot your shot. Like, whatever. That's totally cool. But it's just different because we would have never.
No.
I was
too afraid.
Yeah, and just humbled and just like, it was just different back then, dude.
Yeah.
But
it was.
Whatever. It's fine. I mean, it's different though. Nashville has changed though since like, 10 years ago or whenever.
Yeah. I was a little behind you. I didn't move here till 16.
Dude, do you remember the first time we met?
Was it at that retreat?
No, it was before that.
Where?
Dude. Okay, so it was at I want to say it was Ocean Way, the small room at Ocean Way.
Yeah.
And I came in because Clint Daniels had a session and y'all were cutting your demo right before. And so I came in right on the back end of y'all's and like we met. Dang. And I don't know how I remember that, but I was like, I like that guy. That guy was really cool.
Man, that's so sick.
Yeah, it had to have been shortly after you moved here.
Oh, yeah. I've got a photo. I remember, I think that photo is still on like my Instagram feed. I posted it because it was me and Clint in front of the Ocean Way sign, inside
that day?
There. That day.
You were wearing a trucker hat. I remember that.
Yeah, because I was like, if I'm posting this, people are going to know I'm legit. You know, I was just recording a demo at Ocean Way, but I felt pretty legit.
Dude, perspective though, like, come on, man. Like, there's people. If I would have seen that picture and and I was a kid that just moved here, I'd be like, fuck, that's gonna be me one day, dude. Like, and actually in the studio, somebody else is paying for it. Yeah, but I'm kind of paying for it.
Dude, that was
that had Clint, to have been 16 too.
Yeah,
right?
It was. Yeah, and dude, Clint was so good to me, man. Like him and it was really through Jake Gear.
Yeah, he was Seagale.
Yeah. But, I mean, dude, that was the spot. I wanted to be signed there so bad.
Seagale?
Oh, dude. That's all I wanted.
That was like the fraternity house, man. I actually didn't write for Seagale, but I was like their stepchild for
you were in the club for sure.
Yeah, it was like they were so cool. They had CJ and they had Smith, Onquist and Brent Anderson and Jeb and Jordan Brooker, and it was just we were all like tight and
and the vibe of the rooms there is just so like it felt like a it felt like a clubhouse or something.
Yeah, or almost like, I mean, I guess it was kind of beach house themed, but it was cool. It was like that was a special time for sure.
Yeah. So when you're locking yourself in your room writing songs, like at some point you said you actually did move to like Nashville proper. Were you co-writing at that point, or were you like literally alone in your room, like just trying to?
So somewhere around that same time, my sister had introduced me to Leslie Roberts at BMI.
Yeah.
And to this day, she's still my BMI girl. She's
she's the best, dude.
She's the best. Yeah. And so she introduced me to a couple people, and there was another guy. Denny Carr was his name, and he was a publisher somewhere in town. I don't even remember. He was a Canadian guy. So my first co-write ever was actually with James Barker, of all people.
Yeah.
And dude, he was just like a farm kid. Like we were both like had no idea what we were doing. But yeah, so James was my first one, and that was like, so I would drive up to town. I would drive up to my sister's apartment. She would let me write at her house, at her apartment.
Okay.
And I was writing with like James Barker, and I actually met Jake Mitchell like early on,
really?
like 2013 or 14. So there a little bit of co-writing, but at the time I was writing a lot by myself, like a ton, more than co-writing for sure.
Yeah. And then I guess like you were already aware, because you said earlier from your sister, like about publishing deals and stuff. Was that like the goal to get a publishing deal?
Yeah, at the time. I kind of went back and forth for like 2 seconds, dude. When I was a senior in college, I'd kind of had a little small community of buddies that were in the recording industry program, and they had free access to a studio. So I cut this little EP, and I put a little band together, and I played a couple shows like in East Tennessee of all places. And then when I got out of college and I signed a deal, I was like, that shit sucks. This shit is awesome. I just want to write songs.
Just like, you just mean like
just like the art, like that, all that. Like we did like 3 shows, and I was like, that's so much work, dude. And at the time, I didn't have like stars in my eyes. And I was just like, I just want to write songs. And so I just, I shelved any idea of doing it myself and just became a songwriter.
Yeah. So how did the first deal? I'm remembering. I was with Tim Hunzy recently, and he's my publisher, but he was like, I was the first person.
He was, and he didn't sign me. He told me one time in a meeting, dude.
So that was where he messed up.
So Tim was the first publisher to take a meeting with me ever.
Okay.
And I would meet with him like once every few months, and I'd play him songs. And he kept saying like, you're on your way, like keep doing your thing. But I was still in college, and like I wasn't necessarily shopping a deal like right then and there, and I honestly wasn't ready for one. I didn't have the chops yet.
Yeah.
But I remember him saying one time that he said, I had a chance to sign Rhett Akins, and Rhett was like popping off as a writer at this point, like hard.
Yeah.
And he was like, and I didn't do it. And he was like, I don't want to, I can't remember how he said it, but he was like, I just hope I don't regret that with you one day. I swear to God, dude. And then, anyway, it ended up not.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but I loved him. I mean, seriously, special super shout out to Tim Hunzy, because he took a meeting with me.
Yeah.
And I mean, because my sister had interned at like Parallel or what, I don't even remember the connection, but my sister is the one that connected me. Or actually, she saw that he had just started that company and sent me like that article, and she was like, you should reach out to this guy that he just started a publishing company. I'm sure he's looking for writers. I mean, it was like old school kind of dude.
Yeah.
So I like found his email and sent him an email or something like that. But dude, so yeah, I was doing that a little bit in college, and then my publisher still today is Dennis McCoskey.
Yeah.
He's been in town for forever. In the 80s, he was a pop writer in the 80s, and then he moved to Nashville like in the 90s and wrote a string of country hits. And Dennis is actually my third cousin.
Oh, okay.
Do you not know this?
I for some reason I thought he was like your uncle.
Everybody says uncle, dude.
But
I don't correct him. I'm just like,
third cousin is so much better because it's like sorta.
Yeah,
You're sorta related, but I don't know.
We share the
same.
cousins. Actually, we don't share. Okay, so basically, his mother and my great grandmother, were sisters.
Okay. So, I don't even want to think about how.
So my grandfather and Dennis are first cousins, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And growing up, I knew him growing up. It wasn't like this shock that once I got to town, I realized I had this cousin here. Like, he, growing up, I knew, like, we went family reunions, and I had this cool cousin that would come, and he was the songwriter guy, and he wrote this song and that song we'd hear on the radio, and we were like, oh, that's so cool. And, so I had this songwriter cousin, but when I moved up here, I didn't really like go try to, stand on his shoulders, because I didn't know what he did. I didn't know he was a publisher. Like, I just didn't know. I didn't know anything. And then one day I was putting videos on, back then, I mean, this was pre like Instagram, anything. I was putting videos, bless you, putting videos on, I guess YouTube, like just recording them with my webcam and like originals.
Oh, dude, I got a Britney Spears Toxic cover.
Is it still out there?
Nah, I think I private.
Damn, I was gonna say I'd
still
love
on
to
my
find
YouTube.
that. I think all my stuff got scrubbed too, and I'd love to go back and watch some of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then I would share that to my Facebook or whatever. And one day, Dennis wrote on my Facebook wall, dude, and was like, "Hey, Michael, this and that, come by and see me sometime." So then we connected. I went by his house and I played him like 10 songs. Yeah. And he was like, kind of the same as Tim. He was just like, keep writing. And one day, it got well. Actually, so I was coming out of college, and he had a deal. He wanted to sign me to a publishing deal. I was like about to graduate college, and the admin company that he had at the time, it fell through like at the last minute, and so I this whole time, coming out of school, I was like, I'm gonna go straight into a publishing deal. Like, this is amazing, and then it didn't happen. And so I kind of went back to the drawing board, and I wrote a song by myself called Dog Years. And it was the song about this dog from the perspective of the dog, and the dog dies, and it was like super sad. And anyway, and so I took that back to him, and he was like, all right, give me a month or whatever it was. And then he called me one day, and he's like, all right, I have a deal for you. And it was with Cobalt and Dennis, which his company at the time was called Watsky. But anyway, so that was my first pub deal. And I think I signed it like February 2nd, 2014.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long had you been out of school at that point?
September, October, November, December.
So
6 months, 5 or 6 months.
It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
And did things start hitting right away? Or?
No, dude.
No?
I didn't have a single cut my whole first publishing deal.
How long? Like 4 or 5 years?
Dang. Yeah, I think it was, it had to have been, because I eventually got cuts off of those songs I wrote on my deal, but during the term, I didn't. And I remember, dude, you know how that shit is. I was so frustrated.
Well, you feel like you suck or something's wrong.
I don't, dude, I was stubborn, dude. I was like, I don't know, dude. I guess this is going to make me sound like an egomaniac, but I was like, dude, these songs are hits. Like, somebody needs to cut one of these songs. I don't know. I was just very, very, very frustrated.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of the timeline. So right at the end of my deal, basically Dennis was like, dude, I want to sign you again. Like, I feel like you're this close. Yeah. And I've been loyal, and he's been extremely good to me. So I didn't even really shop. I just was like, sure. Yeah. And right at the very end of that deal, it was like 2017, I believe. And I got a Tyler Farr cut. Yeah. I Should Go to Church Sometime.
Yeah. Great.
I wrote it with Brinley Addington and Sarah Turner. And then they called me, and they were, and I found out it was going to be the single. And I was just like, oh my God. And then it peaked at like 65. And I just remember that being a huge bummer. And then I signed my new deal, and then Up Down happened like immediately.
Gotcha.
I would say within, gosh, I don't even know. I mean, that song went number 1 in 2018. So probably within a few months,
and
Up
that
Down happened.
That was the first one, right?
Yeah. That was my second single.
Okay.
So it was like
but
I Should Go to Church Sometime, and then Up Down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a whole moment.
Yeah, I guess so.
I just remember we've had Brad on here, and I remember like when it came out, I was like driving my wife to the airport, and like
when you heard it on the radio.
I just remember hearing it for the first time. I was like, monster,
dude. That's awesome, man. That song was old. And I know he told the story, but we like went through different versions, and he did a demo, and then like I did a demo, and then Jake Mitchell did a demo, and I kind of like halfway cut it on myself because I was like, maybe I'll put it out. I don't know. Yeah. And then after all that, Seth England heard Brad play it in Key West, and was like, what was that? And then Seth got, all of our 6 demos that we made on it, and then they ended up cutting it on Morgan. And I was like a fan of Morgan already. I had written with Morgan, and like I immediately was a fan. Like when I heard the way I talk, I was like, that's sick. This
Yeah.
guy's good. His voice is cool.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I was stoked and I was never in any position to, because you know how people want to hold out if they think they've got a big hit song and they hold out. I was like, bro, let him have it. He can have whatever he wants. And yeah.
Were you like, I guess we met in like 2016, but by the time I really got to know you, I think we went out to that retreat in Colorado. I think that was 2018.
It was the beginning of 2018.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to my wife. I was talking to Callie then.
Okay.
And then we started dating in 2018.
It like just started.
Yeah.
But like, I think by that time you were already sort of like deeply in that, like,
yeah, I think
you were
maybe
going
I was
out on
like,
the bus all the time.
yeah,
with FGL
but I still, ironically, like I remember, like I still was broke. Like somebody had to help me pay to get out. Like probably Dennis, probably my publishing company, because I was still just like broke as shit, dude. And on that retreat.
Yeah. Well, I feel, I just remember like all the food was like, who was the responsible adult there on that retreat?
Martin Johnson. I don't know.
Like, but somehow we were fed and there was,
you're right,
alcohol
dude.
and stuff. And like, I don't remember, you know, and I had just like signed my deal with Warner Chappell. I think I can't remember if maybe I'd signed my record deal or maybe it was like on the table or something. But like, I just thought like, this is the way life was, you know, you go to, I'd just been to Mexico on a retreat, you know, and I was like,
just
cool,
like,
you
just go places.
Yeah. And like everyone takes care of everything and we just, I guess, write songs, but.
Yeah, that's a good point. Remember I don't know if you were there, but they iced me.
Oh yeah. In the giant thing of cheese balls.
Dude, it was the best. God, dude, it was so good. I was so pissed off. I woke up hungover, and God, back then, dude, it's a miracle I didn't die, dude. I was so unhealthy for so many different reasons, and I woke up, and I just like walk into the kitchen, and there's a giant jug. What do you call that? Just vat,
like a Costco size of cheese balls.
Like cheese balls. Yeah, dude. And I just opened it and I just put my hand right in the middle and I was like, what is that? And I grabbed it and pulled it out and it was an orange juice ice or whatever you call it. Like whatever it was. Man, yeah, that was good times. It was also the day or the week that I discovered that I will never go skiing ever again or snowboarding. Man.
Yeah.
What a time. I had a mullet then too.
Yep. Yeah, you were kind of ahead of the curve in a lot of ways, you know?
Man, that was probably the most defeated I've ever felt in my life because I was like an athlete growing up and I just couldn't figure it out. I was so out of shape, dude. And you're up in that elevation too, and I just feel like I'm dying the whole time and afraid I'm going to crash into some little kid. And
had you ever
never
snowboarded before? So
No.
you just went up the mountain and decided I'm just going to figure it out.
Yeah, dude. When I got on that snowboard, like if we got up to the top, how you kind of you
got to get off. Yeah.
And I just immediately busted my ass, dude, and like had to like lay down so the ski lift wouldn't hit me, and I like crawled over, and I was like, oh no, this is gonna be bad, and it was terrible. It was horrible, dude.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't trade it for anything. Actually, we wrote Rednecker on that trip.
Yeah, I remember. So at that point, like. Were you kind of thinking about like doing the artist thing yet, or were you still just really focused on writing songs?
No, I think not yet, but it was shortly after that. Okay. I remember like it had to have been May or June, maybe July, something like that. It was probably like April or May actually. Is when Big Loud they bamboozled me, dude. They ambushed me.
Seth being an artist?
Yeah, because like T-Hub was kind of in my ear about it, and like Seth was too, and like I just didn't want anything to do with it. I don't know. I was just like finally kind of getting some traction or whatever
as a
writer.
Yeah,
and I was like, man, and I saw like Jameson was kind of my first dude in my camp that like signed a deal, Jameson Rogers, and then he was immediately just like gone all the time. You know what I mean? And tired all the time. And like just watching him and just other buddies that were doing it, and I just was seeing how tough it was, and I was like, I don't want any part of that, dude. I just want to write songs.
Yeah.
And then Seth, the way I remember it, Seth or Chief, when Chief was still at Big Loud, somebody called me and they were like, hey, come by the office. We want to talk or whatever. And I was like, all right. And I go in there and it's all the freaking partners sitting in a room.
Yeah.
And they literally basically just like handed me a record deal. And I just was like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
And I sat on it for months. Like I didn't know if I wanted to do it or not. And I just started dating Callie. And I think the thing that got me, one is FGL. I was out writing with them and they came on the bus and they were like, do you want to sing Up Down with us tonight? It was Lake Shake.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know, 30, 40,000 people, whatever it was in Chicago. And I was just like, yeah, I guess. And I just went out there and did it and kind of got the bug.
Yeah.
And then Joey Moy called me shortly after that and was like, and he's been my favorite producer since forever.
Yeah.
And called me and he was just like, hey man, you know, I'd love to cut a record on you if you ever want to do it. Like, I don't care what the record deal looks like. I want to produce you. And I just read The Alchemist, which is like a book about, have you ever read it? You should read it, dude. It's really cool. Really popular book. And it talks about opportunities and omens and just things like that. And so I was really in that headspace and that opportunity kept presenting itself. It kept presenting it just in different forms.
Yeah.
And I finally just said, like, you know, let's do it and signed it. And the rest is kind of history as far as that goes. But I was really reluctant at the time. I was really dialed into just being a songwriter. And I was really afraid of, like, my time as an artist sacrificing all of that songwriting time and that sort of thing. But I don't know. I kind of had this thing of, like, man, I wouldn't want to go 30 years down the road and be that guy that was like, I got an offer and I never took it kind of thing.
So this is like late 2018, right?
Probably summer. Yeah, middle.
Okay. So like as your artist career is coming online, are you this is like when you're starting to get a bunch of cuts, right?
Yeah.
So did you feel at that point like they were fighting each other or did they actually?
No, they kind of like, it was mutualistic a little bit. Like it was a good talking point for a long time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it helped my artist career a lot. Cause I'd started to get, then I had the FGL single and then Chris Lane single and then the Blake single, and that all was kind of right there in that pocket of my first pieces of music coming out, and so that was a really good. It was very. They complemented each other really well.
Yeah, symbiotic.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
I forgot all of those terms, dude. Mutualistic.
I don't even really know
symbiotic.
I don't really know what symbiotic means, but I feel like I used it correctly.
I think so.
I'm gonna hang my hat on that.
Okay. He's giving us the yeah. I'll take it.
And so what was that like? You're are you immediately I guess I probably was your first show at FGL House?
Yeah, ever.
Yeah.
I mean, well, yeah, as Hardy. I mean, like besides like the college shit like 10 years before that.
Yeah.
Or whatever, 5-6 years before that. Yeah, my first like show as Hardy was at the Halloween show at FGL House. Were you there?
Yeah, dude. Of course.
That's sick, dude. I can't remember who all was there.
Yeah, everybody was
the
there.
Hat,
man.
dude.
There was a hat.
The red letters.
Yeah, they were handing out the hats, dude. That was like a big thing.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I think we still got that hat somewhere.
You should keep it. That's like they only made like 100, and we never sold those.
Really?
We started making them in the white font after that, but the red font was only the Halloween show.
Dang.
So you should keep that, dude.
That's sick.
I didn't even get one, dude.
Okay. Damn, I have a collector's item.
Yeah, dude. And you know what's funny is like a week after that, Seth was riding down the road and he saw a picture of a homeless guy sleeping against a light pole with a red Hardy hat on. Somebody gave it to a fucking homeless guy, dude. How awesome is that?
Did you so you're immediately like going out on the road at this point, or?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I signed the deal in July. We didn't really start making music until I think I put it out in October.
Yeah.
And then Morgan had me out like, I want to say that we left the night after Hardy Halloween thing.
Okay.
Like it was like that show, and then the next night was like the tour started.
Yeah.
And that was the If I Know Me tour. And he had me out until probably like March of 2019. So like 3 or 4 months.
What size rooms were y'all in at that point?
Oh man.
Like clubs?
Yeah, like you remember Chameleon Club? You did that show with us in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah. In Lancaster.
Yeah.
And it's gone.
I heard that.
We might have, dude. That might have been one of the last shows there. I don't think it made it through
COVID,
dude, because that was like the last time I left my house for like a
that was the last show we played. Yeah, for sure. Damn, dude.
Yeah, which is crazy.
But those are the rooms we were playing, which is so crazy, man. Because it seems like so long ago, but then when you look back and it's like you don't count 2020.
Yeah.
So if you omit that year, that was the end of 2018. So we'll call that 2019. Pretty much was that time.
Yeah.
And that's 4 years minus one. So in 3 years, he's gone from 500 cap rooms to,
Yeah.
I think his biggest was 80,000 at Ohio State. It's crazy, dude.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be, I don't know who's keeping stats.
It's hard.
But it feels like some kind of world record.
Of how, like, the quickest?
Yeah. It's insane.
Yes. I don't know. Like, what was Garth's come up like? Was his slow?
Dude, I don't know. I don't know anything. Like, I wish I could find some more, like, information about it. Because that's kind of what's crazy about, like, I have, like, such a limited view of, like, country music history, right? Like, it sort of starts in, like, maybe 2010 for me, just because I wasn't really aware of what was going on.
Same.
So when I came in, it was like FGL was like the biggest thing in the world. And then I don't know what did it look like from like 95 to 2010? Because it's a pretty weird time for the music business because of piracy and all this stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, Garth, the biggest things in country were Kenny was doing stadiums.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know. Luke Bryan, maybe. I
I mean,
I'm kind of with you, man. I didn't really pay attention until I like got in the scene.
Yeah,
like even just I'm not even like just until I started paying attention. Pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you I had a lot of things I was kind of curious about, but it's kind of where the conversation's going. So I guess I'll ask. So your first EP came out. It was like 4 songs, right?
Yeah.
And it was 4x4 on that one.
Yeah.
And then did you do, I can't remember if you did another EP or if
I did.
A rock came out after.
Oh no. So I did that EP, the first EP that had like 4x4 and Rednecker and all that.
Yeah.
And then I did another EP that I would go as far as to say is my least popular piece of music.
What songs were on there?
Sign Sober You.
Oh, well, that's a pretty good one.
That's the only thing that's survived this long. And
Gotcha.
then I'll Quit Loving You, Where to Find Me, and All She Left Was Me.
Oh, yeah.
All those are like retired now, except for Sign Sober You. Like
Gotcha.
We'll bring that out every now and then. But
yeah.
And then later that year, that would have been 2019, I did Hicks Tape Volume 1. So that was the first Hicks Tape. And then A Rock was like a year later.
Yeah.
So Hicks Tape was like my first, it wasn't really my record, but it was like the first full, full length kind of thing.
So what I wanted to ask you about was like A Rock came out, was very well received. And then I remember we played some shows in Texas and you sent me your cover of Blurry.
Yeah.
Had you, I guess at that point you kind of decided to like
do the rock thing, quote unquote.
Yeah, but like I would think that that's actually like a pretty hard decision to make. And it's not like you I mean, I'm sure you were like, "Hey, this is what I want to do," and people just went along with it, but like it was kind of, like a unique like decision to make.
Yeah.
It paid off, obviously. But how did you kind of arrive at that, decision?
It was always kind of there.
Yeah.
Like if you go and like 4x4 was like an early, and that was like the first, that's a song that kind of got that got Big Loud's attention.
Yeah.
Even aside from like Rednecker, which was my first single, but it was always like lurking in the shadows, dude.
Yeah.
And like you could tell, and like our live show kind of kept getting heavier and heavier. And then prior to Blurry, the moment that I knew that I wanted to do the rock thing and that also that it was going to work was when I put Boots out.
Yeah.
That was like a game changer because I put it out and then I get my timeline's all screwed up because of COVID, but I put that out in 2020 Well, it was on a rock, and that came out during COVID. Either way, I put it out, and then like a month later, we played it like somewhere right before the shutdown, and it went like bananas, dude. Like bigger than any song it was the biggest song in our set at the time.
Was there a part of you like putting that song out that was like, I don't know if this is gonna work? Like, were you worried about it at all, or were you just a little bit? This is it. I don't care.
No, like a little bit, because it was just so different. And even from a songwriting perspective, like it wasn't this crafted thing that had like the kiss at the end of the chorus that like this was the hook. It was just, it was country, but it was just like, it wasn't my like necessarily like my wheelhouse of how I would write a song, because it, you know what I mean? It was different. So I was just curious, but that was all just me, my like brain thinking, oh, it's not written the perfect way, or like it's not written like this classic country song, so it's not going to work.
But even in the room that day, like that's with Garcia and Hillary Lindsay, right?
Yeah.
Whose idea? Like, I'm just thinking the three of y'all are in the room. You're like writing a song. You're probably not thinking like you're going to write Boots that day. Did you come in with the idea?
I had the idea in my phone for forever, and I heard I was listening to like New Music Friday.
Yeah.
And there was a metal song on there, and it was just these like big just diamonds on the one. It was not even close to the same thing, but it was just, and I just kept thinking like, that's cool as fuck.
Yeah.
and I'd already just been thinking about like the rock thing and and David and I, because David and I, like, we really get in the weeds on like just music in general and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I just heard that song and I felt very inspired, and I had this idea, and I always wanted it to be like some John Party thing about, you know what I mean? That title is like more of that type of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't even know, dude. You know how
it happened in the room.
Picked up a guitar and started doing it, and it just sort of happened in the room. But that was the moment. Boots is the moment that like my brand, that's where it started. I truly feel like that was the moment that I started to figure out who I am as an artist and what I have to say, or at least a very, very, very prominent part of who I am was Boots, and that was everything. And then when it translated live, that was when I really knew. I was like, okay, this can work. And then we just ran with it after that.
Did it require like any sort of I don't know, convincing? Did you ever have to convince a label like this?
No way, dude. They've been with me the whole time.
That's so sick.
Yeah, especially, well, dude, Joey, that's like scratching an itch for him, dude.
I mean, I can't imagine like anyone else doing that.
No way, dude. It's just, I mean, it's this weird, like, he produced bands that inspired me to write music, and now I'm writing music that's inspiring him to produce me. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's this weird full circle thing for both of us, and it's like the coolest thing in the world. So I'll send him something and be like, listen to this right now, dude. This is so sick. Yeah. And but yeah, no, I mean, dude, he was so on board, and so was Seth and everybody. I mean, dude, I've never gotten pushback creatively from anything I've ever done. I'm so blessed in that way. That Big Loud they let you be the artist, and then they figure out how to market it. Yeah. Which is really, and you know, I'm very thankful for that, because I hear stories of people that want to do something very cool with their art and what they have to say, and then they kind of get shut down, and that sucks. Yeah, you kind of get put in a weird box, you know, where you're just like, you know, you can get stuck. It's like, I want to do this. It's like, no. Mm-hmm. And then what are you going to do? Yeah, and they're like, you can't commercialize that. And it's like, what's the Tim Robinson? You sure about that? Yeah. Especially these days. It's like, well, and I feel like that's where it's going. Like, everything is just getting more and more. It's like, what is the most unique thing to you that you could possibly do for anybody? And like, that's exactly what you should be doing. Like this idea of like, you know, something, if it's for everyone, it's for no one. That's how I try and think of it. Wow. You know, and if it's like, if it's the more specific it is, it's actually for the most people that way. Yeah. Like if it's polarizing, right? Yeah. Yeah. And I don't even know if it has to be like polarizing. It's just like, you know, I'm sure your audience looks slightly different than it is than you thought it would, like when you started. Totally. You know, because you're like, I'm a country music artist. Like,
you know, and now it's like morphed into this like.
It's weird, dude. I look out there and it's like there's a hodgepodge of interesting people, dude.
Yeah, but they all love it, and that's the thing, man.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah,
dude, it's not crossing over, but just leaning into the rock and roll thing is the best decision I've made as an artist since I've had a record deal.
Yeah,
it's been so fun and so refreshing, and like I truly feel like it's who I am, and there's just so many thoughts that go along with it. But I feel the most free and the most like just myself as an artist when we do that.
Dude, I mean, it shines through 100%. Like, I think it can be hard, like when you're writing songs all the time, when you're making music to like become like a true fan of something. You know what I mean? But like when I listen to fucking Truck Bed or whatever, like when I'm skiing, like I know you, but I don't really think about it being you.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
just like, I like this song.
Dude, I'm
and I like
totally
this
with
thing.
you on that. 100%.
And I think that's what's so cool. All of my favorite artists, Steven Wilson Jr. is another one.
Literally the guy I was about to say.
Yeah.
It's like I know him as a person, but I'm just a huge fan.
Yeah, like the dude is incredible, and his music is so unique to him. Nobody else could make a Steven Wilson Jr. record.
Nope.
And I am like so inspired by that, you know? And I feel like everybody should be. It's like, how do you find that thing? And for Steven Wilson Jr., it's like, what, 20 years of looking for the thing?
Yeah.
And he found it. And it's so cool.
Dude,
and
you need to get him on here, bro.
Dude,
he's got a crazy story.
Dude.
He was a rocket scientist or some shit, dude.
Dude, did you know he was like a part of the team that invented, like, you know, the green bones you give dogs?
Yeah.
He did that.
Really?
Yeah. I'm dead serious.
Does he make money off that?
He was working for like a
company, a
dog
research
food company.
No way,
dude. He's got a crazy. We talked about it. And I was like, you have to come on. And he was like,
should.
I will.
And he was a fighter before that, right?
Yeah, dude. He's
like, what? That's so you do it. Dude, you did something that literally physically made you dumber, and then after that, you were like a genius, super genius scientist. Well, that's crazy.
And I'm sure, you know, I'm ruining or like I'm messing up the story, but like he did music. He was a songwriter for a long time, and then like quit and went and like worked for a dog food company for like years, like a whole other life, and then came back to writing songs. I love that stuff.
That's
dude.
crazy.
That
bro.
stuff makes me.
It's cool. It's like the Brett James story, dude.
Yeah, he can't get away.
He
dude.
He moved back 3 times, or moved to Nashville 3 different times.
Wasn't he like in med school and then got like 7 singles and was like, I guess I gotta go back.
Yeah, Kenny. I'm pretty sure Kenny called him and was like, I'm singing because he moved here.
Yeah.
And this is completely wrong, but then moved back again, wrote a bunch of songs with a bunch of people, moved back, and then when he moved back that time, people were calling him like, hey, your songs are about to be on the radio, and then he was like, all right, well, here we go.
Yeah,
and then he moved back, and now he's Brett James.
Yeah, a legend.
Yeah.
How do you think about things now when you're, I think it's actually probably become easier to figure out like which songs are for you.
Yeah.
But you still do quite a bit of songwriting.
Yeah.
What is your, I don't know, like, I feel like you've moved into such an interesting space because you're having a lot of cuts and hits as a writer, and you're also like, you started, like, I don't want to say this incorrectly. Is it your publishing company? Are you a part of one? Like, you've started to sign a bunch of.
Yeah, I started one with Dennis and his son Jesse. So we started one together.
Gotcha.
Mine, ours, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, what, like, was that something you always wanted to do? Did it just sort of make sense?
Not really. Not until later into the, bro. I didn't even I just wanted a couple of hits. And, you know what I mean? Like at one point.
Yeah.
And so, you know, your goals change once you achieve a goal, then you have a new set of goals.
Yeah.
And that was a pipe dream for us 5 years ago. And now it's just cool that it's come to life. And yeah, we signed Zach. Abend was the first guy we signed.
Yeah.
And dude, I'm so thankful that he came over, and now he's got a big old Kenny Chesney single, dude. It's so sick.
And he's and Zach is one of my best friends, and he's so good. He's been so good for so long. You're like, you're almost like for a long time. I was almost like, man, what is?
Bro, when we got him, I was just
so
like,
long?
I don't know why in the world he doesn't have at least, a couple of singles or whatever. Because not only is he a producer, but he can take his headphones off and turn around and contribute as a writer just because he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
Zach, you suck, and I hate you, by the way. No. But yeah, I'm just proud of him, man. He's dude,
and he works so hard.
He does, and he knows how good he is, but not in a cocky way, but in a way of like he knows his self-worth, which I think a lot of times when you know your self-worth, but you don't have anything to show for it, that can be very defeating for people. Yeah. And so big shout out to him and anybody else that's still grinding that hasn't necessarily had that big old hit or big break yet. That's tough because I got really lucky, dude, and kind of, I hit at a time where I never really felt like I needed to move back home or anything like that or whatever, give up. And I know there's a lot of people that are as more talented than I am that are still grinding that I just haven't had it happen yet. But Zach he's one of those people, but it's finally happening, dude. And I'm so stoked for it.
It's so sick. It makes me like just truly like delighted.
Yeah. And he's funny. He's a funny dude.
He is. He's the meme king.
His memes are so good, dude. Yes.
Oh my God. So what, I don't know, like you talk about goals, like shit, man, what do you want to do next? You don't have to say.
I'll say.
On the spot.
I want to balance a songwriting career and an artist career for a long time. Yeah. I want to start a record label. Yeah. And I would love to, in a perfect world, start the next generation of a version, not business, but just a Big Loud. Yeah. Which was Craig Wiseman, who had a handful of hits and had some money and he did well. And then he started his publishing company and then his writers started writing hits. And so he had more money and then he started a record label and he signed Chris Lane and Morgan Wallen and da-da-da-da. And now it just is what it is. I would love to do that for, with my crew of people and just start our little empire. Yeah. I think that'd be the coolest thing ever.
It is. Yeah. And it's like, I love Craig, and it is so crazy, like, even from when I moved to town in 2016, like, what Big Loud is. Dude. It's like... You moved
when they were still just a publishing company, right? I'm pretty sure. Or
they had...
Chris Lane, maybe?
Yeah, but it was like, people were like, I don't... is this a real label? Mm-hmm. That was sort of... I think Morgan had... Like they signed Morgan like around that same time.
He was one of the first. Yeah. Dude, Morgan might be the second artist. Cause I think even I was like the fifth or something. It was like not.
Yeah. It was like boutique,
Yeah, totally.
But they were crushing.
Yeah. And they just man, that's the thing, dude. It's like you get somebody that can produce the shit out of your artist. Yeah. You get an artist that you can market. And I don't know, you just slowly start adding people to, get him on the radio and this and that and the other. And it just,
it's pretty sick.
Craig Wiseman is like the best dude of all time, by the way. Shout out to Craig. He's one of my favorite people in the world.
Yeah. So if you are like talking to either younger you or just some young kid moving to town, like what would you tell them?
Dude, this is the advice that I give everybody. And it's so hard. It's kind of like this weird, like once you hear it, it's hard to take this advice. But something that I noticed that I did, and I didn't even know I did it, was that you cannot have a plan B. Like you have to manifest that it is going to work. And at some point it's going to work. And you have to be so stupid about it, like so blindly stupid about it. But when I moved here, I didn't think like I'm going to be a big star, I'm going to be a big hit songwriter, but I definitely did not move here and say, well, if it doesn't work out, I can always move back home.
Yeah.
I just moved here and I said, I'm going to be a songwriter, and this is what I'm going to do with my life.
Yeah.
And I did not have a plan B. And there's something to the way that you handle yourself and the way that you handle situations and the way you handle failure, that if you have that mindset, even if you don't know that you have that mindset, you handle it with grace, and you give yourself grace, and you give situations grace, and you keep your head down, and there's something about it. But once you hear it, it's like, I'm not going to have a plan B, but even that is kind of tough because like in the back of your mind. But if you can try as hard as you can to move here and just don't even say, well, I'm going to pick up a job here. Just do what you can to get by, but don't have a plan B. Yeah. Don't ever move home. Don't ever talk about moving home. Don't ever think about it. Just come up here and do it.
Yeah.
I can't stress it enough, dude. That's like, I'm super passionate about that.
Yeah. I love it though. I mean, it is, I truly, and I've talked about this before with other people. It's like, I feel like people can smell it on you when you're here and you're not leaving. It's
totally.
Like, you're just, I don't know. When I moved here in 2016, no clue what I was doing. Didn't know anybody.
That's the thing, right?
But it was just like, I'm not going home.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to figure it out, and that's what happened. You talk about like, man, I'm just trying to think of like, there's so many people that Billy Montana, like, he was on here and he talked about like, he didn't even have his first hit for 12 years. Yeah. And that was like after he'd lost a record deal and moved to town. And it's like 12 years.
That's crazy.
Dude, that's so long. And it's fine.
Wow.
Yeah. It just, things have a way of working out, and
everybody's timeline, you cannot compare your timeline to anybody else.
No.
And it doesn't matter if the person has half the talent you have and they have more hits or a hit and you don't.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
That stuff will drive you crazy.
You're the only person in your world.
That's right. Yeah, you can only control. I just read this thing. You ever read this book, The War of Art?
I've heard about it, and somebody has tried to get me to read it. I didn't read it yet.
It'll change your life.
Is it The War of Art or The War of Art? Yeah. Okay.
But I got that book like 10 years ago. This guy in this really cool band in college was like, you need to read this. I read it again. I reread it again like 2 nights ago, and it was
in one sitting.
It's really easy. I read it in 2 nights, but it's like,
got you.
It's every page. Like sometimes the pages only have like this much text. It's like,
got you.
It's not like your normal, but it talks about this thing about thinking about like operating like a hierarchy versus operating like a territory, which sounds like kind of.
Okay.
But basically what it's saying is like, you cannot think about yourself in the context of like, I'm better or worse or bigger or smaller than this person.
Yeah.
It distracts you from the actual work. But what you can do, and this is like a better way of thinking about it, is thinking about things like in your territory. And it's like, this is what I do. And I'm going to make my little piece of land like the dopest piece of land that's going to yield me the most fruit. And again, I read that book 10 years ago, and reading it again, it was like, dude, it was like, I don't know, it really hit me. It really resonated with me because that's so, like, I think important. It's so easy to look around.
Totally.
And just to know.
It's hard not to. I'd still do it.
Dude, it's crazy.
Why? Yeah.
But it's because we're human, man. We want to.
Well, the human condition is like getting used to things and comparing things. And it's just part of your DNA.
Yeah. But I don't know. I was really inspired by that,
I'm going to Amazon that as soon as I get home.
Yeah.
Should I audiobook it or should I just read it?
Just read it.
Okay.
It's actually easier.
I'll read that if you read The Alchemist.
Okay. It's a deal.
Okay.
Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on. You're the man.
Absolutely.
Love you, dude.
Love you too, brother.
That's it. That's the pod. See you later. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Keep rating. Keep reviewing. Keep subscribing. We love you. Talk to you soon. Bye.